Why healing makes you lonely and why that's a good sign. Hello and welcome to Veronica's Journal, where we discuss spirituality, psychology, and mental health so together we can evolve as a community that's unstoppable. How's it going, guys? My name is Veronica, and in today's video, I'll be diving deep into the topic, why healing makes you lonely and why that is a good sign. Let's dive in. See, there's something nobody prepares you for when you start healing. The loneliness, not the dramatic kind, not the I have no one kind, but the quiet, almost eerie kind, the kind where your phone gets quieter, your circle gets smaller, the invitations slow down, the conversations feel surface level, and you start wondering, did I push people away? Did I change too much? And why does growth feel like isolation? Let's talk about it. Because healing doesn't change how you feel about yourself. It changes your whole nervous system. It changes your tolerance. It changes what your body considers safe. And when your nervous system recalibrates, you stop feeling comfortable in chaos. That alone will shift your entire social world. And if you've come out of narcissistic abuse, trauma bonds, or years of overgiving, your identity was probably built around being needed, being the strong one, being the fixer, being the emotional support system. And when you heal, you stop overfunctioning. You stop chasing. You stop explaining yourself 20 times. You stop tolerating subtle disrespect. And suddenly you're different. But here's what's really happening. You are regulated. You're no longer operating from survival. And survival bonds are intense. Let me say that again. Let me repeat. Survival bonds are very intense. When you bond with people through chaos, shared trauma, gossip, mutual enemies, or emotional dumping, it feels deep. It feels passionate. It feels connected. But it's often dysregulation bonding. Two nervous systems vibrating at the same wounded frequency. And when one of those nervous systems heals, the frequency changes. That's when the loneliness creeps in, because you can't connect the same way anymore. Right? You don't want to trauma dump on people. You don't want to gossip no more. You don't want to over-explain your pain to feel seen. You want peace. And peace can feel quiet. Too quiet at first. Sometimes healing feels boring, and that scares people because chaos is stimulating. Chaos feels alive, but peace feels still. And in that stillness, you start noticing who only bonded with the wounded version of you. And that's a hard realization. Some people connected to your insecurity. Some people connected to your people pleasing. Some people connected to your lack of boundaries, right? And when those traits fade, the connection weakens. Not because you did something wrong, but because the dynamic has changed. Growth disrupts dynamics, especially the imbalanced ones. If you were always the one available and now you're selective, if you were always the one forgiving and now you're discerning, if you were always the one accommodating and now you say no, some people won't know how to interact with you anymore. And instead of growing with you, they distance themselves. And you feel it. The energy shifts, the effort changes, the enthusiasm fades, and for a moment, you question yourself. But let me ground you into something. Loneliness during healing is not rejection, it's recalibration. You are detoxing from dynamics that were never sustainable. And detox feels empty before it feels clean. There's also a neurological layer to this. When you live in survival mode for years, your brain becomes addicted to unpredictability, the highs and the lows, the emotional intensity, the apology cycle, the drama. When that's gone, your system goes, wait, where's all the stimulation? And the quiet feels like loss, even though it's actually safety. That transition phase is brutal because you don't want the chaos back, but you haven't built your new aligned circle of friends yet. You're in between. And in between seasons do feel lonely, but they are sacred. Because this is where you meet yourself without distraction. No constant texting, no constant crisis, no constant validation, just you. And at first, that can feel uncomfortable. Because if you were used to being needed, being alone can feel like being irrelevant, right? But healing teaches you something powerful. Your value is not in being needed. It's in being aligned. And alignment narrows rooms. You might look around and think, I used to have so many friends, so many people around me. But ask yourself, were they around you or were they around what you provided? There's a difference. See, real connection requires mutual growth. And when you grow, some people can't follow. Not because they're evil, not because you're superior to them, but because growth requires discomfort. And not everyone wants to be uncomfortable. So they choose familiarity. You choose evolution. Paths diverge. That divergence feels like loss, but it's actually refinement. You're refining your environment, your nervous system, your access points. You're no longer accessible to everyone. And that can look like isolation, my friends, but it's actually protection. There's also a spiritual layer to this. When you raise your standards emotionally, mentally, energetically, you disrupt attachments that were based on imbalance. And sometimes the pruning happens before the expansion. Trees lose leaves before they grow new ones. That doesn't mean the tree's dying. It means it's preparing. If you are in a season where your circle feels smaller, ask yourself, what am I no longer tolerating? What am I no longer entertaining? What version of me am I shedding? Because every version of you, every version that you shed leaves behind relationships that were built around it. And here's the hopeful part. Loneliness during healing is temporary. Isolation during growth is transitional. But self-abandonment lasts much longer. You chose growth. That choice has a cost, but it also has a reward. Eventually, you'll meet people who connect with the healed version of you, not the overgiving version, not the trauma-bonded version, the grounded version, the calm version, the discerning version. And those connections will feel different, quieter, safer, less intense, but more stable. And stable love might feel unfamiliar at first, but it won't exhaust you. So if you're in that quiet phase, don't panic. Don't backslide just to feel included. Don't reopen doors that your growth has already closed. Sit in the stillness. Let your system adjust. Let your standards solidify. You're not losing people. You're losing misalignment. And that loneliness, it's not punishment. It's preparation. Because when you stop bonding through survival, you make room for connection through alignment. And those are way better connections. And that's a completely different experience as well. See, healing doesn't isolate you. It just filters your world. And filtered worlds feel smaller, but they feel safer. And sometimes safety feels like silence before it feels like belonging. Stay in it, okay? The right connections don't require you to shrink. They meet you exactly where you are, where you've grown. And this brings us to the end of the video. I will really appreciate it if you took a second and give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, share your experiences and insights with the community, share it with one other person, and subscribe if you're new here. Until next time, guys, have an awesome day. Love you all. Take care.